Hello, I'm Frank McShane with Square Peg Consulting at the Whiteboard. I'm a supply chain cash guide, and these are the components of the business-to-business supply chain as I see it. And there are opportunities to generate more cash in every part of this process. Let me show you what I mean. Today's session, we're going to focus on the people and teams part of our supply chain process, and specifically how to manage change with that group of people. This is really a typical kind of a change process, starting with the current state of whatever scope we're looking at. Out of that current state assessment often comes some short-term, quick hit opportunities, as well as the longer-term, more complex changes. Those lead to future state options of what to do and how to go about doing it. And options could come from the people themselves, it could come from external resources, it could come from anywhere. As we select those options, then we move into future state design, laying out the details of what this is going to look like, whether it's a process change, a policy change, organization structure, could be a technology implementation change. And that does lead us right into implementation then for these various changes that we've selected. And then as we're going through implementation and beyond, we continue to monitor and adjust as necessary to meet our goals. So in my experience, there's two things that kind of get short shrift in managing change. One is a missing piece up here in total called the case for change. And so oftentimes I've seen clients and organizations jump into a change process without a clear picture of what it is we're trying to do and why. And so everybody's stuck at the beginning here of why should we change from what we're doing here. So that's really the key here, is this has to answer the question why. Why change? And the case has to be compelling enough and clear enough so that you end the debate about do we need to change or not. So I saw a head of generation for a very large utility that was leading a change effort at their nuclear plant. They were going to go from a cost plus model into the open market, having to compete with hydro and gas-fired plants and much cheaper sources of generation. And on a whiteboard similar to this, he videotaped a very simple calculation that showed them what would they be able to sell their power for in that open market. And if you back up from there, it showed that they had to reduce their costs by 40% in order to be competitive, and do it without risking nuclear safety, which is a non-negotiable. It was so clear and compelling that the entire organization immediately moved from why do we need to change to how are we going to change. And so it really sped the whole change process up. The next thing that's often given short shrift is the current state assessment. So a lot of times leaders are in a hurry to get to the changes, right, and get to implementation and better results and all those kinds of good things. But the people involved in the scope are currently involved in the way things are now. And they're doing things for what appears to them very logical reasons. And until you can show that you have a good understanding of what they do now and why they're doing it, they're typically going to resist moving on from there into the future state options. They're going to be stuck back here. So we want to make sure we give enough attention to this that people will really appreciate the fact we took the time to understand what they're doing now and why. And then we can refer to our case for change to help them see how that's not going to help us get to where we need to go. And so once we made that connection here, they're much more likely to participate and be ready to move forward into the future state. Thank you.